5:43.
Yep, tea time, ladies and gentlemen. So this is a special episode. This might be the very best tea that we do this year, the most expensive. So thank you to Peter for sending this to us, and thank you to Sue, who was the original person who had this tea before she got it to Peter. So this is a 1994 Qiaomu. So yeah, you know, we've done a number of older teas here, but the rare thing about this, in addition to the very good source material, is that it is dry stored, and it's very difficult to find well dry stored tea from this era of time. So definitely going to be a very special episode, even if it's not like overtly famous, like the 88 Qingbing or something like that. So per request from Peter, I preheated this stuff by just kind of leaving it over the kettle when it was already hot. So yeah, let's we'll get going on this bad boy.
I'm excited. The aromas on the sort of like warmed up leaf already have a really nice smell to them.
Yeah. Get in there.
Oh boy, yeah, don't lose that.
Yeah, so this is a tea that definitely is in the four figures range as far as the cost goes. I actually don't know exactly what it would cost these days, but definitely one that's rare and hard to find.
Yeah.
So we're having these little cups that are probably not worthy of the tea either, but I picked these up when I was in Malaysia. They're kind of the Peranakan design, although who knows. I'm not a teaware person, so don't make fun of me.
You know, we actually were, we met last session when we met, we had this available to us to drink, and I vetoed it because I just wasn't there. I wasn't in the headspace to have something really fancy. And I said before we met today, like, let's, you know, we're going to get food. Let's make sure we don't get something that's too spicy or too whatever. I really want to be able to focus on this tea. And of course we had a...
And then I got something that was too spicy.
Surprise papaya dish that had my eyes watering, literally, which was pretty uncommon for me, actually. It was pretty spicy. Whoa, wow. Mm.
Yeah, so actually, I had this tea once about 7-8 years ago, and it was used as an example of something that had zhangshang. And so it was actually sent with like a little bit of incense that kind of had that same sort of camphor aroma. Yeah. So I don't know. A little bit of fruit and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I smelled the fruit quite a bit, actually. I was thinking, a little bit of a kind of a plummy thing aroma-wise. All of the kind of aged leather...
Yeah.
Smells as well. Cool.
And so, because the storage is not traditional storage, it doesn't smell or particularly like basementy or dank or anything like that. Even though age-wise, it would fit alongside those two.
Right. And so for a dry stored tea that's this old,
sure,
what's the benefit, right? Like, so you potentially use wine analogies or whatever, but for people out there, you know, one would think, hey, I want to accelerate the process of biologically aging my tea so that I can have the oldest biologically aged tea to drink as early as possible. Why would something like dry storage, James, be potentially beneficial or, you know, an even longer, using dry storage to elongate the aging process? Why would that help out?
Sure. Well, I mean, like the traditional storage is like, it's a pretty blunt force object. I mean, the idea, and you can read more about it on TeaDB or on Marshall's blog, he's written a lot about it, is to basically store the tea very aggressively for a few years, and then you store it a little bit more dryly and kind of let it, dry out, clean itself up a little bit over another few years, and then it's kind of like that's enough to kind of smooth out a lot of the rougher edges of what was traditionally pretty strong, bitter, astringent, possibly smoky material.
Right.
By replacing that with a process that, you know, also mellows the tea but does so in a less aggressive fashion, you're ending up with kind of a different product. Yeah. And so I think this tea is kind of one of the rare contrasts that you can compare with like traditionally stored like tea from the 90s or even 2000s I think the difference will be quite obvious. Yeah.
And this, to be clear, with the traditional storage, was wet and then fairly dry. this has always been fairly dry.
Yeah, relative to that. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So cheers.
Cheers. Wow.
Nice texture. Yeah. Those kind of tastes of fruit and stuff like that's still kind of in there, which not something you would necessarily think of when you're thinking of tea this age, and that's definitely a product of kind of that aging process.
Some of the raws that I've had, older raws, have a sourness to them that I find to be off-putting. It's it doesn't work with it. This has a very subtle light sourness to it, almost like how tomatoes can be tart. That is really cohesive and works well with it. It's like a sweet sour complement. If it was just too sour, it would just be overwhelming, kind of like adding too much lemon juice to a drink or something like that. It just kind of takes over.
Sure.
This has like a really pleasant light sourness. It's not turned completely to that kind of compost complex.
Yeah. One thing I'm noticing is the very kind of expansiveness of the tea. It's like you drink it and you kind of have that flavor you're describing, but it's really coating the whole mouth. You could feel it. It's quite strong, even on just this first brew.
I'm trying to understand what the woodiness that I'm getting from this is. It's already intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Good deep flavor as well. Yeah.
God dang.
Yeah, very complex. And we're just getting into this. This is one of the teas where it might feature a few extra steeps than we normally would.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about this tea is obviously it's ready now, but it could change still.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's one of the advantages of this sort of aging is you maintain that liveliness of the tea. So, yeah.
Some nice lasting smokiness. Subtle, but...
Yeah, so thank you again to Peter and Sue for your generosity here. Just a pleasure to try a tea of this caliber, which is not an everyday occurrence. At least not for these people here in Seattle.
So clean tasting.
Yeah. Nice clarity on the liquor.
The basiness on this is interesting to me.
How's the basiness kind of different from what you'd expect?
I'm not getting a lot of like mineraliness necessarily. It's also not particularly like composty, but I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
But there's a strong bassy character to this. It's again, it's kind of woody, but the woodiness is like it's almost like a waft of smoke a little bit. Yeah. Mom test.
Probably not. This is definitely like a tea nerd's tea.
Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful color. Wow.
Yeah. I know.
Cheers.
Cheers. That little bit of tartness you're saying is definitely front and center in this brew.
Wow. Crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like a very different profile.
Very different profile. It really is. It is very unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say because it's like, we drink a lot of teas, but this is like one of those teas that it is hard to compare with other teas. It's like, what is the closest experience I've had this year? It's like, it would not be something particularly close.
Wow. Interesting.
You could tell this was very strong younger.
Yeah.
Like, even just, it is still quite strong. I mean, the way that it expands in the mouth and kind of like that just protracted mouthfeel. This is not a weak, simple, easy old tea. No. It's still quite challenging. Make sure to keep this nice and hot.
The bitterness is nice though. It's not acrid at all, but it's strong.
And it converts fast. Like,
right.
It converts to the sweet.
But it starts off pretty bitter to start.
Yeah, bitter and sour.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, to your point, and so for folks out there, when we say profile, what are you saying, right? The actual tastes and flavors in the tea are kind of unique on this one. The combination of them coming together here, compared to some of the older, wetter stored, shung that we've had on the show, basically.
And then the younger stuff, it's just younger and
right.
Doesn't quite taste like this. In fact, a lot of the younger stuff we have is not nearly as strong as this too.
Yeah, it's very strong.
Yeah.
A bit more minerally.
Yeah. So 7 grams, 95 milliliters, keeping the steep still pretty short because we are feeling the strength of this.
Yeah. Crazy to think that something like this can still take another 10 years to age out and change.
One of these days we will bring on the 88 Qingbing, and then we'll see.
Crazy. Yeah. Beautiful color. Oh, wow. Just like... It's just strong. Wartime test.
Wartime test.
I think so. So light me up.
Yeah. It's like if you're not sure if you're going to see tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Worst ways to go out, I suppose.
Cheers.
Cheerio.
Yeah, so what did I just say? The sweetness to start, definitely. And some nice fruit as well.
Yeah. Well, you can just see how the tea evolves. You initially get this sweet, and then it kind of hits you pretty hard with, I think, what I would say is like a fair bit of bitterness. And then the bitterness converts quite quick, too. So it's almost like sweet, bitter, sweet.
Totally.
All while it's just kind of coating your mouth and your throat.
The bitterness has a yerba mate hay bitterness to me. And then... kind of that turns to something a bit more desert sage to me, but herbaceous and a little bit kind of green. What an interesting tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not at all what you expected.
No,
okay.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I expected it to taste much more aged.
Yeah.
Aged,
more of that
classic aged flavored. Yeah. It's strong. It's good though. It's not, but yeah, like it could still hang out for some time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy to say. Yeah. God, and I go back to listening to other episodes we've done of nicer teas and stuff. And I feel like that's a good sign. I feel like some of the best teas that we have typically, I'm like, it's really nice today, and it has time yet.
Yeah.
Oh. And that sourness is not it's not like that funky basement nasty sourness. It's like its own flavor profile.
Yeah.
Floral, little hints of floral vibes in there. Wow.
Yeah. You can tell it maintains a lot of complexity for from its material and from the aging process.
Totally. Do you think the profile is cohesive? Meaning, does it work well together?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's a little tricky to put it all together because it is kind of like a combination we're not totally used to. Mm-hmm. And if you told me 1990s tea, I'd just assumed it was one of those more traditionally stored danker teas.
Yeah.
Like even if you told me dry stored, I've had so many dry stored teas that are not really dry stored. This is truly dry stored.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's clearly has not seen the likes of a Hong Kong basement.
It's incredibly incensey to me. I think that's one thing that I kind of think of when I think of these teas. That kind of complex of herbaceous furniture wood stuff.
Yeah. It's kind of more like antiques rather than earthy.
Yeah. Yeah, but so sweet. Oh, let's keep going.
Yeah. We're gonna have to refill this water. It's a rare episode where we gotta, hit that kettle again. Okay, the bitterness is still there, starting to sleep away. This is probably where the tea is going to get a little easier to drink. Not that it was bad earlier, just that the strength is slowly starting to get a little bit more to manageable levels.
Yeah, and the sweetness is there throughout. Really nice.
What is that sweetness? It's like lotus or something like that. It's like kind of got this very particular. I'm not even sure. I don't know if that's a correct note or not, but it has this sweetness that's paired with the kind of the bitter notes in the middle. That it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, gonna do one more steep, then we'll get some more water, and maybe we'll do another steep or two after that.
Sounds good. It'll be a longer one for us.
Yeah, for sure.
The idea of buying this to age it now is totally insane. But what do you think this is going to be worth in 10 years? Like, holy smokes.
Well, what tea sells for, it's always complicated because of, it's like...
hype.
Yeah, and whatnot.
Demand.
It's like, I don't hear that much about this tea. In terms of tea quality, though, I'd say it's very high.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean...
Very clean.
It's a 4-figure cake that I could see why you could charge 4 figures for something like this.
And for you folks at home and stuff, if you can find yourself able to purchase something like this, it's a big treat. But it's not... You don't have to buy $1,000 worth of this tea to be able to have a session of it and enjoy it, potentially. Some of these teas are literally kind of only being traded by the cake. But,
Yeah,
I would just encourage people out there to...
If you can buy smaller quantities or something, yeah.
Like, save up, and instead of having... It's okay to spend $50 on yourself doing something really fun and fancy and not buying the extra stupid Temu Shine, AliExpress.
Sure. Well, you know those Klarna things to finance? Just finance all your Pu'erh purchases.
Good. That's a good idea. Yeah. That's sage wisdom. That's why, yeah.
Please don't do that.
Yeah.
Please don't do that.
Please seriously, do not do that. Please do not buy anything on credit. Don't hold a balance on your credit card, rather. Wow, so much strength still. The desert kind of saginess, the little bit of that kind of yerba mate, dry grass has faded a little bit for me. A bit more into some of the kind of deeper garden compost flavors, but in a subtle way. The basiness, the bitterness on there.
This is starting to smell a little bit more like stuff I'm used to, like a little more kind of dark fruit notes and wood and that kind of vein.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh, medicine shop kind of vibes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Good call on the incense. I feel like that's a note I'm often a little slow to pick up on. But yeah, definitely. Cheers.
Cheers. It's incredible how... It's kind of a shame, too, that we don't film so many of the steepings because with these old teas.
Sure.
Like, they are so dynamic, and now it is so much sweeter. The bitterness is still there.
Yeah.
But it's so much less intense.
Little herbal notes coming out. It's still extremely enjoyable, so, yeah. Yeah, the tea is... I really can't underemphasize that aging mellows a tea, but this tea is still incredibly strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 31 years old, but still an ass kicker. This not a daily drinker.
No.
Even for someone very wealthy.
I think, the kind of... It's a little bit of the sweetness that is that cherry tomato sweetness, I think, that I'm tasting. It's not quite obviously fruity to me beyond that. Maybe a little bit of plum.
Sure. And we're gonna
pause and get some more water.
Yeah.
Mas.
Yeah, so we're just sitting here hanging out, waiting for this this water to boil, and enjoying those nice tea aftertastes, which are
quite powerful. I will say, quite powerful. Yeah, this is one of those teas that you can almost oversaturate. I think giving it time between steepings, I think, is important. To put it that way. I find that some of the impacts can be higher if I have a sip of water between sessions or steepings and stuff.
And I think probably the ideal pace of this tea is a little slower than what we're doing. But yeah, we're recording an episode, so what are you going to do?
Although, interesting, I've been thinking about this too, actually. there's that sweet spot, or that little section in the first beginning of steeping, especially with caked pressed teas, that you just let it sit and it gets so much stronger after like the second steeping, between steeps 2 and 3, where like the water, so it's had three kind of hits of water, right? The rinse, 2 steepings. Suddenly that cake has started to fall apart, and that third steeping that you drink, I find to be incredibly powerful in comparison.
Yeah.
So I typically make sure to not take a big break between steepings 2, 3, and 4.
Interesting.
Because I think that the potency of them increases non-linearly.
You're talking about Pu'erh or just tea in general?
Pu'erh specifically.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, especially like some of these aged teas just need a little bit to get, like, kind of need the leaves to rehydrate, wake up and stuff. Which I think is the idea behind kind of like preheating these teas too, is to just kind of get that going. So yeah, I haven't counted, but you can go back in the episode and figure out what steep we're on. I think we're probably like 6, 7.
6, yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Jerry out. Tea is just
so nice.
Just very enjoyable now. We're beyond like the intense phase.
Yeah. Which just goes to show how much promise this tea has, frankly.
Yeah.
Wow. It's really nice. And again, it wasn't
just
like
very sweet now.
Yeah. It wasn't like the first steepings were bad. They weren't. But now it's much more approachable on today's drinking schedule as opposed to the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first steepings show you why the tea is special. Like the strength of the tea and stuff like that. You don't want... Mama doesn't want no weak tea. So, yeah, we're going to do one last one here. Yeah. But, yeah, it's kind of settled into a very, very pleasant groove now.
Nice. We're so lucky. Appreciate everyone. Peter, thank you. And everyone, Sue, thank you. People who have been sending tea to us for however long, James, for doing so much of the logistics. I don't know. I just hanging out, riding the tea wave is freaking awesome. You're doing like 6 episodes a week, man. Yeah,
doing the normal episodes.
Yeah, but
5.
yeah, it's true. But still, I'm having a blast. And this one's really interesting.
Yeah, so pushing it just a little bit.
Sure.
We'll see how this is. If it's like the last one, it'll still be pretty pleasant.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, we'll probably call it, and I will probably come back to this tea later tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely one I'm not going to waste, but I think for today, let's not be too greedy, and
Gotcha.
I'll drink the rest tomorrow.
Yeah. And again, kind of giving it time gives you another... The return to the cup in the session, I think, has more impact than keeping it going. So again, find the right balance, right? You don't want to quit early on where the next steeping becomes too bitter. You also don't want to go so successively so fast that you're kind of all blends together and it's all just a bunch of catechins. And
a lot of that information is stuff you're just going to kind of absorb naturally over time with experience and stuff. Not like we're telling you to take notes or anything like that, but yeah.
Yeah, you fill that up. Okay.
Cheers. Yeah, and I'm glad we kept going on this tea because it really does kind of hit this second phase. It's still full of flavor, I will say.
Totally, but it's so
Very
sweet
tasty.
now.
Yeah.
It's so sweet. So sugary.
Yeah, it really had kind of like this. Yeah, this is very pleasant now. But earlier, not that it wasn't pleasant, it was just strong. Yeah.
Cool. Well, good luck finding this one. You know, the new thing that I'm learning about with tea this year, especially, and with James's expertise 100%, is just how to get your head around anticipating in 25 years that this is going to be this tea. You know what I mean? Like drinking something that just tastes like gasoline and rocket fuel and being like, this has promise. Like, I don't have the skill set yet. James is certainly, I'm learning a lot from this guy.
I wouldn't say that I do either. But, we can all try. We can all strive for something.
Yeah, well, thanks, Peter. Thank you, Sue. Go and find some old Pu'erh to drink. I don't know how to find it.
Savor the sessions when you do get something like this. Don't postpone it forever. Trying to drink it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a good lesson. Subscribe to all this stuff. Help us get to 10,000 subscribers. Send this to your dog's lawyers.
You know, we have.
Lawyer.
You know, I take that back. We have too many Dogs Lawyer subscribers. But if you're not a Dogs Lawyer, please do subscribe.
And until next time,
Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang.